Today is Friday, December 3rd, and this is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Tonight I'd like to take some time to talk about an important topic for young Catholic adults, a topic about college studies and choosing college majors. I'd like to share some advice that might be surprising coming from me, but is very important for Catholic students to hear and at least consider before they make decisions about their college choices and college majors in particular. To put it very bluntly and simply, no one should go to college to study for a liberal arts or a liberal studies degree. Let me say that again. No one should go to a modern college or university and pursue a liberal arts or liberal studies degree. These degrees have become popular, especially in Catholic circles, because a false, overly simplified and shallow idea of traditional Catholic education or classical education is being promoted in schools and colleges and universities that neither will equip a student to be skilled in the classical liberal arts, the real classical liberal arts, nor have a degree that provides any real-world benefits. College and university attendance is a business decision. The university in modern society is a man-made institution that serves a very short period of time in a student's life, and the purpose of that college or university education is to equip a student for his or her future occupation. No one should go to a college and spend years of his or her life and tens of thousands of dollars to attain a degree that has no professional purpose. You do not need to go to college to study the liberal arts. The whole idea of the liberal arts is that they're arts to be studied by free men. They're arts that do not pertain to professional pursuits. It makes no sense to spend thousands of dollars in tuition to study the liberal arts. It makes no sense to go to a modern university which offers you a 4-year degree program and pretend that in that 4-year degree program you're going to gain mastery of the classical liberal arts. You're not going to do so. They are not going to teach you the classical liberal arts. You do not have enough time to study the classical liberal arts. You will not learn the classical liberal arts, and you will pay for a degree that neither provides you with the knowledge of the classical liberal arts nor serves any useful purpose in your professional life. The liberal arts are studies that are pursued by free men. They are arts that you can never truly master. Just like the study of theology, there's no point at which you say, I'm finished with my theology studies. The same is true of philosophy. The same is true of all of the liberal arts, the true classical liberal arts. These are studies that students should begin when they're young and continue throughout their entire lives. The classical liberal arts are not studies that a 4-year college or university can offer to students. And these 4-year liberal arts or liberal studies degrees are completely useless. They're useless. You'll find articles on the internet trying to explain how a liberal studies or liberal arts degree can help a student after he or she is finished with college. The reason why those articles need to be written is because everyone knows that the liberal arts degree does not help students after college. Plus, any argument that's made for the benefits of a liberal arts degree could be made for any other degree. But those other degrees would have more practical benefits for the students than that liberal arts degree does. For example, a student entering into any professional field, let's say the student's interested in medical school or law school or even seminary. No matter what field the student is interested in, he would be better served by a business degree or a marketing degree or some other specialization that could be used in business, say accounting. He would be much better served by some practical, professional degree than a liberal studies degree. Besides, if a student is actually interested in liberal arts studies, he can enjoy those studies for free all year round, 24 hours a day. There is no reason why a student should pay a single dollar of tuition to a college or university to study subjects that are open and free to all men and women everywhere. Colleges, especially small private colleges, use these degrees to attract students and promise them that at their, let's say, conservative college or Catholic college, that they will be free from the corruption of liberal ideas at a modern university. The very fact that this conservative, or on the other side of things, this liberal university wants to attract students who hold one set of ideas and then pretend to teach them the liberal arts is itself a contradiction. If you're interested in learning how to think according to the wisdom of the classical liberal arts, you'd be much better served attending a large, diverse public university that actually allows freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of ideas, the opportunity to question and debate and discuss things with people who actually hold other faiths, other philosophies, other economic ideas, other social ideas, and so on. That's where liberal studies can be enjoyed. And you don't need to sign up for a single college course to study the liberal arts. If you're going to college, if you're going to spend money on a college degree, you should get a degree that directly benefits your professional life. If you'd like to study the classical liberal arts, the first thing that I would warn you of is to beware of people who are talking about what's called the Great Books curriculum. The Great Books curriculum is not the true classical liberal arts curriculum. The Great Books curriculum is not the true classical liberal arts curriculum. This is not what was ever meant by the phrase liberal studies throughout history. In history, for example, if you're reading the writings of St. Augustine and you see him make a reference to liberal studies, he is not talking about a person who has read a certain number of books in literature classes. In fact, St. Augustine strongly criticizes the study of literature. Read the Confessions. You'll see that he bemoans the fact that he gave so much attention to the very books studied in these great books programs, and that he despised the truly important subjects like grammar, which is one of the classical liberal arts. The shallow interest in literature is just a glorified form of web surfing or television watching. It's not real study. The only real classical liberal arts studies are actual studies of the classical liberal arts. And the key word is arts. They are arts. They are systems of instruction that teach you principles that are to be practiced. If you are not learning principles that are to be studied and practiced, then you are not learning any arts. You are simply learning about some subjects, and that's what these great books courses do. What we find in modern circles is academic men and women who like to stand around and talk about education. They talk about the liberal arts. They talk about classical education. They talk about the saints. But they don't study the classical liberal arts. They don't do what the saints and wise men did. They don't study the actual arts of the classical curriculum. They talk about them. They study books that were written by men who studied the classical liberal arts, just like they read writings of saints or watch saint movies where you can learn about men and women who studied the classical liberal arts, but they don't study the classical liberal arts. And there is no college, no university that exists today where you can go and pay tuition and study the classical liberal arts. It does not exist in a modern college or university. You can go to a college that calls itself a liberal arts college. You can go to a college that offers what they call a liberal studies degree, but you will not be studying the classical liberal arts. You will be studying a shallow, 4-year great books curriculum that is not a classical liberal arts education. And you will be throwing away years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars on a college degree that does you no good. Now, some can say, oh, well, I went and studied the liberal arts and I learned this and that. The problem is you could have learned that at home for free. You did not need to go to the college to learn the things. If you did in fact learn something valuable that does pertain to the classical liberal arts, you did not need to go to college to learn that. It's available at no cost in your own home every day. It's like when people say they go to college, and the Catholic colleges advertise things like the campus chapel, the fact that you can go to Mass at school. There are Catholic churches in every town and city in the country. There's no need that anyone should choose a college because that college has a chapel. Every town, every college city, every college campus in America has a Catholic church, Catholic chapel, within commuting distance for any Catholic student who would like to go to Mass, make confession, etc. No one should choose a college that claims to teach them the liberal arts. No one should choose a college because they use the Catholic faith and the sacramental life as a lure to bring students to a campus that offers no other benefits. The benefits that colleges and universities are supposed to offer young adults. The benefits of a college should not be religious, because no one needs a college to provide religion. We already have that in the church. We don't need a college to pretend that it's the church. We don't need professors to pretend that they're priests and doctors of the church. We already have priests. We already have doctors of the church, and they are not college professors. We don't need colleges to provide us with Catholic fellowship. We can have that in the parish. We certainly don't need Catholic fellowship that's funded by student loans and tuition. And we shouldn't allow colleges to try and attract Catholic students by offering them things that Catholics have access to for free. You really need to be careful that you don't choose a college because it offers you things that are already yours for free. If you're going to go to college, you should be going because you've already begun to discern your vocation in life, your state of life. You're already thinking about a possible professional occupation, whether it's secular or religious. You should already have those ideas in place before you choose to go to college, and especially before you start paying college tuition. College is part of a life business plan. It is not simply the next thing you do after you finish a high school diploma and turn 18 years old. It's not where you start your adult life by default and go to college and then living on financial aid or student loans or paying tuition, figure out what you're going to do. That's not what college is for. College is for professional studies, where you should go to participate in a professional study program for the sake of your future profession. You should go to college for the sake of having access to great resources, great libraries, great laboratories, great study halls, great professors who have raised and taught men and women who are now leading different fields in different areas of professional life. You should be going to college to make professional connections with alumni at great universities who are already leading different fields and can help you in your future work, professors who have all kinds of experience and resources and connections and can put you in contact with people in the field you'd like to work in, and also to make relations and connections, to network with peers who are smart and motivated and will be working in the field that you're going to be working in as an adult. That's the purpose of college and university studies. College is not a place where you go to learn the Catholic faith. It's not a place where you go to worship God. It's not a place where you go just to make Catholic friends for a few years. It's not a place where you go for social life. College is a very expensive investment. And if you don't make a wise investment, you're going to spend decades of your life paying back an education that brought you no real benefits. No one should go to college for a degree where they claim to be studying things that they can learn for free at home. And some may say, well, you can learn anything at home, but that's not true. That's not true. There are many different fields where you cannot learn the state of the art in that field. You cannot learn what's going on or where a field is going by sitting in isolation, studying at home. By going to a college campus, by getting connected with the people who are directing and moving that field forward, especially if we're talking about great universities and selective colleges with great programs that focus on different specialties. For example, Google was invented at Stanford University, and ever since then, Stanford has been a leader in internet technology and development. Places like Harvard Law School have dominated the legal profession. If you want to be a leader in American legal profession, Harvard Law School is the number one place to go. And if you can't get into Harvard, you try to get into the most selective school you can get into, where you can connect with the leaders and the brilliant minds that are directing these temporal affairs. That's the purpose of college and university studies. Be careful that you don't let small colleges persuade you to attend a private college or university that offers you none of the benefits that college and university study is for. Many small colleges like to try to appeal to young men and women and make an argument that going to a small college is a good idea. But going to a small college defeats the whole point of going to college. What matters is that you find professors and programs that are considered to be leading teachers and innovators and sources of the leaders in different fields, and you get yourself into those programs. Learn everything that they have to offer, make the connections that they have to offer, and then hopefully use your own creativity and diligence to take what's made available to you and make the best possible use of it. That's the purpose of a college education. That's what universities are for. Places where we can immerse ourselves in a diverse environment, where we can stand on our own 2 feet, take responsibility for our own convictions and beliefs, and discuss them maturely and responsibly with other people with whom we disagree in a diverse, democratic society. Learning to do that is part of the university experience. Developing professional skills so that you can go into a diverse professional workplace and have experience working with people of different religions, races, languages, cultures, and so on, and focus on the tasks at hand without having to hide in the woods somewhere so that you can be safe and protected from being, quote unquote, corrupted by other people's ideas, learning to have the strength of mind and depth of conviction to be able to do what laymen are supposed to do, which is to go into the world and make disciples, to go into the world and direct temporal affairs according to the will of God. That's the mission of the laity. So I want to make sure that as Catholic students are considering going to college, applying to colleges, choosing colleges, discerning vocations, choosing professional occupations, and so on, I want to make sure that there's a voice balancing the talk that you may hear from small colleges, private colleges, Catholic colleges, trying to persuade you to go to one of those small or private or Catholic or liberal arts colleges, because that's not the purpose of a college education. Some may say, what are you saying? Are you saying that we shouldn't give our children a liberal studies education? Of course not. I teach the classical liberal arts. But a high tuition college program where young adults are already on the clock is not where those subjects are to be studied. Again, if all you're pursuing, if all you're being offered is a great books education, and what these schools would like you to do is pay tuition so that you can sit around and read books and talk about them with classmates, that's not an education. That's just discussion. Again, you can do that at home. You should be going to a college where you're going to be instructed systematically by a master teacher in arts and sciences that directly benefit your professional life. Don't allow yourself to get duped in to signing up for these liberal arts or great books programs where men and women earn salaries to sit around and chat with tuition-paying students about books that children should be reading in their leisure hours, not in formal college courses. Catholic students should certainly get a classical liberal arts education, but that education does not start when you're 19 or 20 years old. At that point in your life, it's already time to be moving forward with your vocational plans. And just because the modern Catholic schools and homeschool programs are not offering students a curriculum that equips them with the skill and the knowledge and the wisdom that they need before they reach adulthood, it's not your responsibility to now fork over $50,000 to those same people who are going to pretend that they're going to give you that education now that you're a young adult. If they actually knew the classical liberal arts, they would be teaching them to kids who are 8 and 12 and 13 and 15 years old. They would not be subjecting young students to the modern K-12 curriculum and then telling all of the Catholics that when they become young adults to come and pay college tuition to learn subjects they should have learned in their youth. The schools, the K-12 schools, should be teaching the classical liberal arts in preparation for adulthood. The fact that they don't do that creates this fake idea that we're supposed to study these subjects in college as adults at great expenses. And that's all false. The classical liberal arts are to be taught and studied while we're young. For example, the art of grammar was started with boys who were 6 and 7 and 8 years old. They were taught the art of grammar. They were then taught the arts of reasoning and rhetoric and arithmetic and geometry so that they would be fluent in the classical languages before they went to the university. That's why the schools were not called elementary schools, they were called grammar schools, because that's where students learned the classical languages. They didn't sit in a 6th grade classroom learning to write English sentences or memorizing English vocabulary lists and call that grammar class. Grammar school was where young children were made fluent in the classical languages so that they could then go to the university and study philosophy and theology. If you Google the University of Paris curriculum in the Middle Ages, you can find online a copy of the curriculum at the University of Paris in the 1200s and see where a college education picked up. No one was at college studying Latin 1. There's no way that young adults can afford to do that, to spend years of adulthood forking out tuition payments to learn subjects that belong in elementary schools. If you didn't receive the education that you should have received during your own childhood, you should not try to make up for that classical education by enrolling in a liberal arts college and paying tens of thousands of dollars for it. That's not the right solution. It's perfectly true that you do need to study the liberal arts, but that is not the way to do it. What you should do is go to college and pursue professional studies, studies that directly benefit your professional life. And you should learn to study the classical liberal arts in your leisure time. These are arts that are free to study, and you can find all the help you need to study them at home in your leisure time for free. So to summarize, it's in fashion today because of the failures of modern Catholic schools, modern private schools, modern public schools, to tell young adults that they should pursue the education they should have received when they were young children at college. But that is terrible advice and false counseling. You should not go to college to study the liberal arts or to try to make up for an education that you didn't get when you were younger. You should go to college to train and prepare for your professional pursuits. If you need a license, for example, to pursue a certain career, that's what you should be focused on in college. For example, if you need to go to law school or medical school to obtain licenses necessary for those professions, that's what college is for. If you need a degree in a certain field in order to even apply for a position in a certain professional field, that's what a college degree program is for. And when you finish that degree program and get that degree should turn into profitable employment opportunities for you. And if it doesn't, you're being duped by that college or university. No one needs to go to a college or university and pay tens of thousands of dollars for a general education degree, some kind of cultural awareness degree. That's not what colleges and universities are for. If a college degree program can't offer you some promise of professional benefits, you should ignore it and stay as far away from it as you can. The college degree program should directly benefit your vocational pursuits. They should be directly necessary for your professional or vocational plans. And if they're not, then you should stay away from them. That's not what college is for. College is not a place where you go for social life, not a place you go to learn about culture, not a place where you go to learn about the Catholic faith. College is a place where you go to prepare for a profession. The best place to do that is at a school or university that is respected in the field you're interested in. So, for example, let's say you decide you want to be a nurse. And around your house, there may be 5 or 6 different colleges and universities. If you want to be a nurse, you should try to find out what the most reputable nursing program around you is, and try to pursue admission to that nursing program because it's the best nursing program. And it will best prepare you for a career in nursing. Because think about it. Other nurses who are now managing offices, managing nursing units in hospitals and so on, likely came from that program. They know what that program offers, and they're looking for future nurses. Those programs will put you in contact and give you the best training opportunities for that profession. And the same is true for any profession. If you want to be, an accountant, you should try to find out what college, what school has the most highly respected accounting program or has the best accounting professors. If you'd like to get into computer programming, you should try to find which school has the best computer science department with the best professors, with the best alumni, and so on. That's what college and university studies are for. They're for your professional or vocational future. Do not allow anyone to persuade you to go to a college and pay a tuition for benefits that you can freely access without going to college. If you do, you're getting ripped off, and you're going to put yourself in a hole, not just with respect to money for all the tuition that needs to be paid, but also with respect to time for the years that you're going to spend in a study program that in the end offers you no benefit. If there's things that you can have for free without college, you should never allow someone to persuade you to go to college for those things. That's not what college is for. A college education is a good investment if and only if it rewards you with vocational or professional benefits. It's an investment. A farmer invests in seed, and plants his seed because he expects that the harvest provided from that seed will be worth far more than the seed itself. College should work the same way. College is very expensive. That's not necessarily the problem. The question is, what return on your investment does the college promise you? That's the question you should be asking. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions about money or be pressured to think that being concerned about jobs and careers and future salary and things like that are just worldly concerns. You're paying tuition to go to college for a reason. And if money's not important, then just tell the college, then let's cancel this tuition. Because you will not be admitted to the college unless you pay the tuition. So don't let them tell you that salaries and money and future job opportunities are not important, or not as important as the cultural experience, the social benefits, the opportunity to go to a school that has a certain religious perspective. No, that's not what we pay tuition for. If they cannot give you an assurance that completing their program and earning their degree will provide you with direct professional benefits, then you should ignore that program. It's not worldly or carnal or selfish to want to know what the reward or the return on your investment is going to be. They should be able to answer that question and assure you that you'll be making a good investment if you pay that tuition and earn that college degree. If they can't, that's the end of the discussion. You can go to Mass at any parish you choose. You don't need to pay tuition to go to Mass. You can go to Eucharistic adoration anywhere you choose. You don't need to pay tuition to go to Eucharistic adoration. You can find Catholic friends in a million different ways. You don't need to take out student loans and pay tuition to find friends. What you're paying tuition for is to make an investment that you can expect to return benefits that are worth far more than that initial investment. It's a business investment. Don't allow anyone to tell you that college is not for your professional interests. That's what college and university studies are for. No one should go to college for a liberal arts or liberal studies degree. I'm saying that as one who teaches the classical liberal arts, and I would argue is a leader in liberal arts education. Do not go to college for a liberal arts or liberal studies degree. Do not. If you'd like to study the classical liberal arts, you can do so. You can do so in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy for free. And anyone who studies with me will tell you it's worth it. It's better than courses that you'll have in college because we study the real works in the right way, in the right environment, without financial stress. If you want to study the classical liberal arts, if you want to study the arts and sciences and philosophy and even theology that was studied and taught by saints and wise men in the past, you do not need to go to college in order to participate in those studies. You can do everything that needs to be done for those studies, wherever you are, in your leisure time, at little or no cost, without going to college. If you do go to college, go and get a degree that benefits you materially, because that's what college is for. I know that this is unpopular advice, and I know that when I share this advice, many people who have gone to college and studied the liberal arts or liberal studies will disagree with me and try to defend the school they went to or the program that they studied in. But what I want to encourage you to think about is, if they begin to name benefits, was it necessary for them to go to college for those benefits? Don't let anyone credit free benefits to a college or university. Don't let anyone do that. That's very misleading. And also, don't be afraid to ask questions about finances. When someone tells you about their education, don't be afraid to ask them how much debt they graduated with and whether they're still paying for their college education later in life. Many people like to pretend that their education was something that it wasn't, and they're still paying for it today. Don't be afraid when someone offers you advice about college or university choices. Don't be afraid to ask them the details about their own financial choices and circumstances that relate to the college studies that they talk about. You'll often find that they don't want to share the truth about what it costs them, or that they're still paying off loans 10, 20 years later for the education that they pursued. Don't be afraid in these matters to ask practical, material questions. How much did it cost? How did you pay for it? And so on. Don't be afraid to consider whether the benefits they talk about could have been obtained by them if they didn't go to that college and pay that tuition and spend those years of their lives to get things that they could have gotten without going to college. Make sure you are willing to ask the tough questions and hold people accountable for their advice. If they give you advice, make sure that they're willing to answer the tough questions, because many won't be, and you should take that as a red flag. Many will defend what they've done because of their own pride, because they don't want to think that they made a bad decision when objectively they did make a bad decision. And if you're reasonable and careful, you'll be able to see that they did make a bad decision and they're trying to cover it up. No one should go to a modern college or university paying tuition for a liberal arts or liberal studies degree. I'll say it one more time. No one should go to a modern college or university, and I don't care if it's liberal, conservative, Catholic, non-Catholic, it's irrelevant. No one should be going to a tuition-charging modern college or university to study the quote-unquote liberal arts or liberal studies. No one. If you'd like to talk more about this, I'm happy to answer the tough questions. I can explain to you my own college experience. I can explain to you my own children's college studies. I've got 3 children currently enrolled in college, all of their tuition paid for. If you'd like to talk about college plans, if you'd like to talk about your own vocational decisions, options, and get some frank advice from a person who's willing to get into all the nitty-gritty practical details of real college life and benefits, I'm happy to do that. Just get in touch with me. I'd be happy to help you think through these things. And like I said, just provide you with a voice that offers a different perspective on these issues. I can predict and tell you what most advice will look like that you'll get. You'll either get people telling you that college doesn't matter, which is foolish, because for many professions, college is required. And that talk of college not being important is foolish. Or saying you can just go to any school, it doesn't matter. That's foolish. That's not true. It certainly matters what college you go to. And then on the other side, you'll get advice from people telling you that the best thing to do is to go to a small private college, liberal arts college, Catholic college. And again, I simply warn you to think carefully about that advice. There are Catholic priests and churches and fellowship groups on every college campus, in every college town. You don't need to go to a Catholic college to enjoy a rich education and faithful Catholic life. You don't need to go to a private Catholic university to enjoy a great education as a Catholic. And there are many arguments I could make for why you actually wouldn't get the best possible education as a Catholic by going to a Catholic college. But if you'd like advice, if you'd like to talk about it, I don't ask that you do what I say. It's your decision, and by God's grace, you have the freedom to make your own choices about your states of life, your vocations, your professions, and so on. That's your right. As an adult, you have the right to make those decisions for yourself. Not even your parents have the right to tell you what to do with regard to college or career or getting married or staying single, whatever. Those adult choices are your own. But if you'd like advice that you're probably not going to hear from most people today, I invite you to get in touch, and I'd be happy to give you a different perspective with reasons for the perspective I offer. And as I said, I'm not biased against liberal arts studies. I think they're the most important studies in the world. But I do not believe that college and the university environment is the right place for those studies. That's the difference. If you'd like a classical liberal arts education, I can help you get one, but you don't need to go to college for it. If you're going to go to college, go for the right reason and come home when you're done with the benefits of a good college education. I hope that's helpful. God bless your studies.